Hi friends, hi guys, it's Manveer here. So earlier in my previous video, I explored a terrace and I even made I can't stare at the ring light for too long, but I explored a terrace in Bengaluru. I even made a video in Bengaluru about a book called Weather Patterns. It's right here, but now I'm reading a different book that is called The World of Questions and Answers. Let's see. Northern Hemisphere. I wrote that. Okay. Stop. Right there. What led to the origin of plants? It is believed that there was a time when there were no plants on the earth. According to scientists, the protoplasm, the living material that is found in both plants and animals, appeared on the earth. It's kind of like a mineral in the form of tiny specks, like tiny seeds. Hundreds of millions of years ago, these protoplasm specks that became plants had only one cell. It's called chlorophyll. In the beginning, it is only later they formed groups of cells. Yeah, one of these cells is chlorophyll. They grew in water and we call them algae. Most of the plants we find today are evolved from algae, but there are some plants which came out of the sea and developed rootlets which could anchor them in the soil, like a ship's anchor when it is battling rough seas when it sees an island to avoid it being drifted away. The pirates or the people lower down the anchor and it gets stuck to the seafloor. Just like that, along with little leaves, these plants are called mosses and ferns. Earlier, the reproduction in plants was either by simple cell division or by means of spores, little dust-like cells resembling seeds. In due course of time, some of these plants developed flowers that produced true seeds, and thus the process goes on in the nature. How do plants manufacture the food? The plants have factories, like hidden natural factories, to manufacture their food, and these factories are nothing but the leaves. In the case of fruit trees, the leaves acquire carbon dioxide gas from the air and water from the soil to prepare their food, which is sugar. This process of making food is called photosynthesis. In the case of those plants which have no sugar, the food in the form of starch and protein is the main apparatus which helps the leaves manufacture food are the green bodies called chloroplasts, and they in turn acquire energy from the sun, which is another type of photosynthesis. The roots of the plant take water from the soil, which is from the mud, and then the water circulates through the stems and branches from the plant or the tree, and then turns into the veins of the leaves. These veins carry the food, which the leaves have prepared. The leaves do away with their excess carbon dioxide by emitting oxygen, which in turn sustains quote unquote human life. Why do trees have rings? When we cut a tree, when we cut a tree, when we cut a tree and observe the cross section, we find alternating bands of light and dark wood. These two bands unitedly are called the annual rings. The variation in the color of the bands is due to the fact that wood grows differently in different sections. The cells of the wood grown in spring and early summer are lighter in shade than those formed in late summer. The age of a tree can be estimated by counting the annual rings further, which by counting further, there are many variations among the rings in term width and so on. In terms of width and so on, which there are many variations of rings. There are many variations among the rings in terms of width, like the size of the tree, and so on, which are caused by weather conditions. By studying the rings of the tree, one can one can have an idea regarding the weather conditions that prevailed years ago in the part of the world. What are nuts? The nuts are hard-shelled. What are nuts? The nuts are hard-shelled fruits of a tree. The nuts of varying trees differ wildly in size and flavor. Walnuts with the wrinkly hard shells are enclosed in a round and smooth husk, like a cocoon. Chestnuts are valued all over the world. A nut is very hard to crack. The most delicious nut to eat is the Brazil nut, the almond. Almond tree produces two kinds of almonds. The bitter ones are used in medicine, while the sweet ones are the favorite of the people. However, the most valuable of all nuts is the coconut. Its food value is high as it contains much oil and some protein. And the reason which is responsible for this water in coconuts is called quote unquote endosperm. What are barks of a tree? The outer portion of a woody stem or root of a tree is called bark. As a tree grows along with the wood, the bark of a tree also increases in size. One of the main functions of the bark of a tree is to protect the inner layers of the tree, more delicate structure of the tree. More delicate structure of the tree. It not only helps them dying out or drying out, the bark not only helps trees drying out, but also guards against various external injuries. The process by which bark is formed may go on year after year. The bark of many trees are very helpful and useful for man. I think that's supposed to be people. They are useful for people, especially cavemen. The spice called cinnamon is the powdered bark of a tree grown in India and Malaysia uh, or Malaya. Quinine. Quinine is obtained from the bark of a chinchoa tree. Extracts of the bark are even used for flavoring, even in medicines. The barks, the roots, and the branches of many trees are used. Why do apples have varieties? Apple is one of the easiest fruits raised by man. In this case, people or humans. It is originated, apples originate in southeastern Europe and southwestern Asia. From ancient times, many varieties of apples are found. But the question is, how are these varieties obtained? The apple growers and the nurserymen keep on experimenting with the grafting and fertilizing. The nurserymen, the apple growers and the nurserymen keep on experimenting with the grafting and fertilizing techniques on the blossoms to crossbreed, thus evolve kinds of apples like the red apple and the green apple. So this is for today. We're gonna read more. So we're in the apple part. But yeah, bye.